Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Astrology Today with Jeff Harman. I am Ella, Jeff's assistant. Great to see you all. As always, I always say it because it's always great to have you join us. Jeff's going to go into a lot about the planets. Venus is now going direct. Mercury is it's still retrograde, but is about to go direct in about a week. Big energies Jeff's going to talk about. And then our topic for today is, are humans shaking the tree of life? Are we? Let's get started, Jeff.
Yes, I think we've been shaking it for a long time, ever since we fell out, right? So yeah. Anyways, right. And went splat on the earth, right. And other places. But yeah, we got a lot of cool energies. Again, we got a new moon coming up. If you'll notice, we have a new moon every month. So kind of interesting, huh? Never stops, never will. So our new moon is going to come up on Thursday. It's actually going to be at about 6:40 p.m. for Pacific Daylight Time. That's also, you can extrapolate to where you are in the globe 3 hours later. If you're on the East Coast, if you're on the other side of the world, got to figure it out. But it'll, depending on where you are. But new moons are very, very important. And this one is very, very strong. Number one, the reason it's strong is because it's happening right when Mercury is stationing about to go direct, which, planets don't just stop abruptly and take off the other way. They slow down because what it does is it's actually due to the orbital speed of the Earth and that planet, why it appears to go backwards or forwards. So Mercury now is stationing right on the new moon and starting to go direct on the 15th. It'll actually go direct on the 15th at about 1:20, almost 1:21 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And of course, extrapolate from where you are on the East Coast, 3 hours ahead. If you're over in Europe, it's 8 hours, ahead. So it really depends on where you are. So you could just say in general, next Thursday and Friday are very, very powerful times. And of course, this podcast is done the week before. So again, always a powerful time to plant seeds. Whenever the sun, which is the seed, joins the moon, it plants new energies. Another thing I want to talk about is Mercury going through the eye of the sun. I don't know about you, Ella, but I tell you what, I had a lot of dreams on early Wednesday morning. And of course, that, again, was on the 6th. And what happened is Mercury went through the eye of the sun. And what that means is it's 17 longitudinal minutes before, not degrees, minutes, before it conjuncts the sun, lines up with the earth and the sun, and then 17 minutes after. That's a fancy term called cosmi. But I can tell you, I had a lot of dreams and a lot of intuitive stuff. And also, if you notice, a lot of reworking and activity I found was really good. There was a lot of things that got redone and working, and you were working on some stuff too that was very, very productive. I know Camille was working on taxes. She got that all done. So I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but very, very powerful. The other thing I want to mention too is Venus went direct on the 3rd, which was last Sunday. And what's important about that is now we're seeing the dust starting to settle a little bit. Not that anything's been resolved with the Maui fires, and some of the other things are starting to, at least taper off, because that Venus retrograde was pretty nasty, caused a lot of destruction in a lot of parts of the world here. And the weather has been off the charts as well. Flooding all over the place. I don't know if you've heard about all the different floods, but it's been really intense. And the weather has been quite off. And that often happens when Venus retrogrades. It's called opening of the gates. That's what Venus tends to do in terms of moisture. So we rarely get any weather out in California like this. And we did. We've had some pretty odd weather. And again, I always say what's going on in the world is reflected, and we hear more and more information coming out about the Biden emails and the pseudonames and all this other stuff, crazy stuff. There's also been rumors about military people crossing our border. And I've been hearing this bubbling up for a long time, actually, but even more so now. So clearly, there's some very strange stuff going on with the Biden administration kind of opening the doors and saying, come on in, folks. And he seems to be saying, come on in to a lot of people. So very interesting stuff. The United States just tested a military missile, too, an ICBM, to kind of show a little bit of strength here with North Korea, Russia, and China. Let's hope, I know the owners at the top of the pyramid, they want war so they can put in their new system. But I really don't think it's going to get to that. And God forbid if it ever does, it's never going to be like any other war we've seen in the past. The technologies we have now, they're eerie, scary, creepy, powerful, and stuff we've never even heard of. And that's why I really believe that may be why we're seeing a lot of craft, terrestrial or extraterrestrial, showing up. I mentioned last podcast, I've been seeing more stuff lately. And that one that I saw out there on the Pacific Coast Highway was so strange because I was thinking about that. Why would I look up? And I caught my eye, and then I ended up looking right over the top of me. And, I'm doing, 50, 60 miles an hour on a motorcycle. And I just never do that. And it was very strange how this thing looked. It was cylindrical red, and it had like a cage on the bottom of it, almost like a protector for lenses that you see on lights. So very, very odd. And again, a lot of people have been reporting a lot more activity lately, and this could be why.
Totally. And you said that craft, you felt like it wanted you to see it.
The first one definitely did.
Right after that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really pretty bizarre. Yeah. This is interesting about our topic tonight too, because, basically, are humans shaking the tree of life? And I think we have been for a long time. In fact, this is nothing new. One of the most interesting and intriguing books to me that our bearded men in Rome decided not to include in the canons, and of course has also been mysteriously kind of left out, a lot of the Kabbalistic stuff, is the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch has been translated by many different people. And of course, many people may have heard of the Keys of Enoch by J.J. Hertog, who I had the chance to meet a while back. But anyhow, the bottom line is, what this really gets into and what precipitated this is we just got a notice that they designed a embryo, and I do mean design, without egg or sperm. And this is very interesting, and I'll put this on the screen because this is very interesting how it's exhibiting the same traits as a human being. And in other words, a human embryo, I should say, not a human being, but a human embryo. It's actually exhibiting the same evolutionary traits in its early stages of development. And this, again, is creepy stuff because when you really look at what are we doing here, we're always trying to unravel the secrets of life and creation. And, you had sent a very interesting article about how it's being proven that trees are speaking to each other and communicating through various different signals. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Big time. And of course they are. I mean, The fact that I feel like something happened really, really early on to human beings to shut down our sense of being able to appreciate, witness, and understand all other life forms. Of course, the trees are communicating. They're communicating to one another. They're communicating to us.
You can actually feel the energies in them. And, it's interesting. I used to cut down a lot of trees up north in Wisconsin, logging and clearing roads and places for gravel pits. And none of us ever think about that stuff when they're doing that kind of work. But it's really interesting when you get in touch with the vibration of life. And this is what the ancient Tree of Life said, that there wasn't just human souls, that there were all kinds of souls. There was the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom or vegetable, and of course the animal kingdom, and then last but not least the human. But I would keep going and say there's other kingdoms as well. And this has been kept from us. And this is what the Book of Enoch got into a lot. It talked about this war in heaven. And this also strikes some very interesting things about the pineal gland and the brain and all the synapses that many different scientists are studying about how we transmit thought and how intuition and psychic work is working through our minds or opening up. And I really believe the human mind is an attenuator. It's literally, we agreed to be dumbed down to come into this physical world. Think about birth. You look at Nadi astrology, how it says literally that our karma is the positions of the planets when we're born. It's, we're not our astrology. The astrology may be us. All the modern astrologers are running around saying, oh, you're a Gemini, you're a Cancer, you're a Leo. Well, I think it's exactly the opposite. We get the configurations, and forget about sun signs when you get into Vedic and Nadi astrology, and also the traditional Hellenistic and Greek and Egyptian astrology as well. You're looking at a pattern, a resonant pattern that is so unique, because you'll never get the same one twice, especially when you factor in fixed stars and where the rotation of our solar system, as well as the whole galactic configuration of all the planets. You can never get the same chart twice, let alone the complexity of the solar system and the rotation of the Earth. And even if you're a flat earther, it's still that matrix being imprinted. So the bottom line is, we really are souls having a physical experience. Well, when you go back to, are we shaking the tree of life? This is an interesting topic, because we're trying to replicate what creation seems to do on its own. And there's been a lot of talk about when conception happens, either in humans or animals, they say there's like a flash of light. And I wonder if they got a flash of light in this experiment. I doubt it. This is, again, genetics. It is, and they're even calling it like a replication of an embryo. So it's like a model is what they call it. But scary stuff. And I've heard that there's cloning been going on for a long time. Of course, we know there's cloning going on in animal reproduction, plant reproduction, genetic modifications. This stuff has been on the horizon for quite a while. I mean, I've heard about this stuff all the way back to the 60s and 70s. But I think now that we have had this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which happened on the winter solstice of 2020, we're seeing people open up and become much more aware of this stuff. And we're also seeing a lot of stuff much more advanced. So we're in a new high-tech era where I think we're going to see an explosion of genetics, an explosion on every technical front is coming at us. We're going to see life go into hyperspace. I really believe that. And are we shaking the tree of life? I think, yeah. And it's very interesting when you're dealing with souls and spirits, and the physical psyche is much different than trying to create it. And, there was a movie out about that. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tony Goldwyn were in that, and a number of other actors, where they were actually growing bodies in these tanks. And the person would download their consciousness and personality. And of course, they'd get shot or killed. And then they'd regrow the body and replicate it with the DNA, and then download the personality and everything into that. And that's an interesting topic, because in the book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage, it actually speaks that he did that. The man Abraham, which was really Rabbi Maharil, did that to a particular king who was dying in the Middle Ages. I think it was right around the late 1400s. It's in the book. And essentially, he was allowed to raise someone from the dead. Now, this stuff sounds like Frankenstein stuff, but we hear the same story in the Christian, right? Lazarus. And this is also not unique. It's the Hunas of Hawaii have been said to do this. And it's also been said that this has happened in some of the ancient Vedantic legends. So what's interesting, and why I bring this up, is because they said when this happens, the soul and the upper spirit flies off, and only the lower nefesh, or lower ruach, or spirit, or rosh, or however you want to say it, is left in the body. They'll know everything. They'll know everybody. Everybody will know them. All the personality traits are there. But the soul, the upper soul, is not attached. And this is some interesting area of discussion and research, because, again, science doesn't even know how to measure what a soul is, or a spirit. You can't put it on a meter. You can't put it, on a scale and measure it. They have tried, actually, and people have actually weighed dead people and live people, and right afterwards, trying to determine whether there was any physical mass differences. And again, I find that very questionable whether you ever would find something like that, because I don't think spirit, soul, and psyche is measurable, at least not in my opinion. This is fabric that I think science has yet to even fully ascertain. But this is interesting stuff because this is not new. And I believe, and I've heard that in the cloning process, they're actually trying to do that, where they can take the personality traits and somehow put them into a clone. Now, whether or not that's actually ever been successful, who knows?
The whole thing with, it's an obsession, right? It's an obsession. How can we create life, other than naturally? But how can we do that? How can we do that in a laboratory? How can we do what God's done? We'll never do it. Just get over it.
Yeah, I personally don't believe that it can ever be fully done. Not the way creation does it. I really don't. And I think we are messing with, some real sacred stuff. You're messing
with fire. You really are. Spiritually,
and creation.
I really feel we're messing with fire. And God knows what's going on behind the scenes, right? In all these labs, we know, of course, they start out testing all these things on animals, hideous things. I mean, look at what they were doing, sending animals, into space, first and foremost, mm-hmm. and how many animals died. I mean, I feel like that's just not our place here on Earth. We shouldn't be doing any of those things. We really shouldn't be. Talk about karma. I think
they do
creating bad karma right there.
So a lot of interesting questions on this. And I would say that I'll reserve some of my opinions. But I'll close with this. There was a joke. The scientist said to God, we actually can now create life. All we need is some clay. And God said, get your own damn clay. So that's my little joke.
Get your own clay.
Yeah, get your own clay, buddy. Yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks, Jeff. I know you're super busy this week. Thanks for sharing this with us. This is a topic I'd love to go further with because it's very, very interesting and can go very, very deep. And thank you all for watching. Please leave your comments below. We appreciate your comments and take a